Hello, and welcome to On the Road to DevHops. I am Trac Bannon, software architect, engineer, and talker extraordinaire. And I'm here with a very good friend of mine, Bryan Finster. Bryan, tell us about yourself.
I write software occasionally.
Bryan and I belly up to the virtual bar. Today, it is the virtual coffee bar. And we spar and talk about topics that matter to us. The last time we got together, we ended needing to really dive into more topics around leadership and mentoring and sponsoring. So we're back at it today and we want to dive right into it. But before we start, Bryan, what you drinking today?
Actually, right now it's lemon flavored water.
Oh, okay. Well, that's super healthy. I, in fact, have my cucumber infused water here, and this is my Black Rifle black coffee.
I'll
So,
tell you though, at the end of the day today, though, I've got a bottle of a local distillery's Fox Trail Distillery's bourbon upstairs. It's very yummy. I'm probably like that this evening to relax.
yes, this is the kind of week that needs that kind of a cocktail towards end of day. So I would expect that. And Bryan, I've been fetching to you about positive experiences with mentoring, with sponsorship, with leadership, with supervision, and some
Mhm.
toxic ones. And gosh, I don't even know where to start. The role that somebody can have in your life, even if they are, it's a tangential role, how they influence you and how they can help you is so dramatic over the course of your life. I was telling you about my friend, and he's passed now. His name was Scott Barr. And I would not be where I am if he didn't see my potential and my skill and absolutely would not mentor me. He said, "You've been mentored. You don't need mentored. You go toe to toe with me technology wise. What you need is sponsorship." And damn, didn't he make opportunities for me and help lift me up? Like he was like, "You need to step up. Here's what you need to do to get done." And man, I haven't had many of those in my life, but Scott Barr was one of those people that sponsored. So, have you had opportunities to be that mentor or sponsor, or have you had a story where somebody just opened the door and said, "Bryan, grab hold of this. I got your back."
Yeah, not frequently enough. It would have been useful if I'd had stronger leaders I'd reported to in the past who did more than just do an annual eval. But I think the biggest one for me, the one that really set me off on a pretty rapid trajectory to where I'm working right now, is when Jason Van Zyl was starting up the central platform at Walmart. And Jason is one of those guys in the industry that you don't know, you've probably never heard of. But if he wasn't around, core technologies people depend on wouldn't exist. Um, And he recognized I was somebody who could really help his goals. And so he recruited me to come join him. And I think it was sponsorship, right? Because he was telling people, hey, you should talk to Bryan. Uh,
Mhm.
and which is different from mentorship, which is, hey, this is how improve some aspect of something you're working on. But
Mm,
sponsorship is, hey, this guy over here, he's
mhm.
smart, you should talk to him.
Well, I will say this from my vantage point. Right. Obviously, we've got gender diversity going on here. Um, there have been points mid career, not early on, where I felt over mentored, over explained to, over educated about particular things. And I found that to be frustrating. But I found also that inflection point, mentoring is there is a little bit of the over the shoulder. Here are things you need to learn. Check back in, right? There is a sensei mentality to it that somebody's helping you, but the sponsorship is advocating. It's truly advocating. There's a little bit of mentoring to it. There definitely is, but it takes it a step further. And one of the biggest benefits that I get from sponsoring others is it helps me to scale. So there's a selfish aspect to it. Find that person who can learn these things or who already knows these things and give them a shot and help them be successful.
Well, and I've also had mentoring. from people I've reported to in the past. But, mentoring without an opportunity is not super useful.
It's nerd slinging.
I mean, well, how do I practice these things you're mentoring me on if you don't give me the opportunity to go and practice these things?
I would say that mentoring without without actions tied to it, mentoring can't be just another conversation. You have to walk away from mentoring with actions identified. Then it's right at the edge of being mentoring and sponsorship where you're driving somebody to make a change. But if it's not, it's just shy of being a podcast. It's
So
just shy of being a one-way push of information because it's great that we can have the conversation, a little bit of private tutoring, but private tutoring is different than being in the trenches together. Now, would you say that sometimes you can mentor on the job? Sometimes you can, it isn't that once a month meetup or that lunchtime buddy mentoring. You can mentor side by side. When somebody's there with you, you can take that opportunity. Do you think that that's really mentoring, or is that more leadership that you should be doing on a daily basis?
I don't know. I think well, it depends whether you're doing it accidentally or not, I think. So if you're doing it, well, actually, if you're doing it accidentally, it's just you're just doing your job and someone's managing to pick up nuggets from you while you're doing your job.
Yeah.
I'm very intentional about it. So I've got young developers who report to me
Hmm.
and we work side by side on stuff. And I'm very intentional about trying to push out how I come to conclusions. I try to push out things that they should be looking at. As often as I can, shove problems to them that I could just go solve.
That's the difference between, well,
Well, but
you're
then
giving them an opportunity to take action, I guess is where I'm going with that is that if you're pushing a problem to them that you could solve first, you're training up you're training that person up so that you can scale. Might take you more effort to get it started, but there's a nice long pole in that tent when you start to do that.
well, then we also have formal sessions where I'm talking about, where do you want to go? What is it you're wanting to
Right.
do? What are some actions you can go and take that aren't directly related to our daily work that you can do during your job? Because I expect you to be learning while you're on your job, that you can go to drive you closer to those goals. Or if you don't know where to go, well, here's some advice where I think people should go, skills you should pick up based off of my experience anyway.
So there are two sides of this, and I'm not sure which direction we should go in terms of our conversation. One side is what should newer in career or mid career, what should people be looking for in trying to find a mentor? Because you want to be active about it. It doesn't have to be a solidified agreement. What should somebody be looking for in a mentor? Or should we come at it from the opposite direction? How can we mentor people to be better mentors?
Well, I think what people should look for in a mentor is the same, well, at least what I look for, somebody has more experience in a topic than I do. And I've had times in my past where I've had multiple mentors, but they had different focuses. And so, because there was different areas that I was wanting to get better at, instead of just expecting one mentor to be good at it all, I'd spread it around. And sometimes it was a formal relationship where I worked before. There was off and on an expectation that she'd have a mentor and that people would have mentees. It was just an expectation of the job occasionally, not always. It depends on who was in charge at the top. But I mean, look for, when before Jason hired me, I asked him to be my mentor because I couldn't think of anybody in the organization smarter than him.
Hmm.
And so I was going to go after the smartest person I knew who
Right.
was kind enough to share their information.
I think it's interesting to be senior in our careers, right? And we're not 29. Wink, wink. Maybe I am, or I pretend to be. I identify as 29. But being more senior and to think I still seek mentoring and sponsorship still to this day, still to this day. And
Now, I
some
want
of
to talk
my
about,
mentors and sponsors are newer in career, not new. They might not be 25, but they're in a different place, but they've got an experience set. They've got a domain understanding that I don't yet have. And so I will work with those folks. So age doesn't play a role. Experience plays a role, but age doesn't play a role when it comes to mentoring and sponsoring relationships. One of the people who sponsors me the most and gives me some tough love, straight talk, probably only 3 or 4 years older than me. And he worked with NIST. He's taken the early buyout from NIST as an emeritus professor, wildly intelligent guy. His name is Dr. Phil LaPlante. I call him sensei, but we are within a heartbeat of each other, in
This
terms
is
of
the same argument I have when people say, "Well, I've been doing this job for 30 years and things like continuous delivery are just flash in the pan stuff." I'm like, okay, time and grade doesn't matter. What matters is experience.
exactly, exactly. I like that phrase. Time in grade doesn't matter. It's experience. That's harder to measure at times when when you're talking to people, but when you meet somebody, when you have a good conversation, not just one that's a hi, like you doing, good to meet you. Here's my LinkedIn, right? When you have that conversation, it strikes you when somebody has a knowledge set that you want to be around. And so having that conversation, engaging with them, finding ways to bring value bidirectionally. Mentorship doesn't have to happen formally in the workplace. Mentorship happens and sponsorship happens all over the place, all over the place. The
Uh,
virtual sponsorship and mentoring that we do, I think, becomes pretty significant. It takes a fair amount of extra time.
for a large portion of my career, the only sponsorship I was ever exposed to was the dark side of sponsorship.
I can tell you the toxic side of management, but I don't know that I've ever had
Well,
toxic
what I mean is
negative
where,
mentorship, the dark side of mentorship.
well, so there's a person in particular that I worked near for several years who was sponsored by somebody else who was also sponsored for the wrong reasons. So I had, when you have a manager who is rewarded for walking for un, overcommitting, under delivering, and walking over the bodies of the developers that report to him to get a promotion, and then leads up with promoting, keep advocating and sponsoring for a developer who is really good at fighting fires, but really bad at preventing fires.
Mhm.
And that, in an organization where you see people like that ahead while you're trying to do the right thing for the business and not getting it,
Right.
that that causes people to go, oh, if I want to get ahead, what I need to do is just have the veneer of success. I need to overpromise. They'll never catch me anyway. It doesn't matter if we do things a sustainable way, as long as I get the quick win for this quarter.
That kind of attitude drives me crazy. I call that having pointy elbows when it is their agenda above all else. There's a couple of folks that have run into in the last 18 months, and their elbows are so pointy that I think it left a kind of a bruise and a couple of scars because they don't make room at the table. And mentoring, sponsoring, being a good leader, leading those beside you does mean that you're making room at the table because it's a big table. There's a lot of room for everybody. I don't follow people with pointy elbows. I, I don't. I will follow somebody. I don't care how new in your career you are. If you have a good idea and energy and vision and you're willing to listen to the people around you, I'll follow you, right? A leader is somebody who has people willing to follow. And that's different than what I'm hearing you talk about, that negative self-centeredness.
Yeah, I hate people like that. They harm people. They harm
Mhm.
teams. They harm business outcomes. And it's the same as I see where developers will go and convince somebody in management that they need to go and do some sort of pet project that they build it. It never works correctly. They get recognized for building it, but not for being operational. I mean, never able to operationalize it. But hey, they got promoted, so woohoo! You know,
Well, no, I would say that if they sold it as an experiment, if they sold it as throwaway,
you
and you brought that learning back to people, well, that's one thing. But I'm not hearing that in what you're describing.
no, I've got all sorts of examples that we can have another conversation about later because it's not related directly to what we're talking about. The best advice, so to mentor anybody who's listening to a rambling, the best advice I have for anybody is to only work for leaders. If they're not actually leaders, and by leader I mean they care about you, they care about the work you're doing. They want to do everything they can to make you the best that you can possibly what you're doing. That they're focused on how can I help you contribute to the mission versus how can you help me get it.
Right. Right. And I think most of us have a pretty good radar for that. Not always, but most of us have a pretty good radar for that. I think we together, Brian, are urging people, act on that gut feel. If you have the opportunity to, right? Every once in a while, you have to swallow and you have to just take one because of economic situations, other things going on. But to the extent that you can, break free of those types of things. Look for leaders that you want to follow, or look for opportunities to lead and be that leader that you want others to be. Like that's
And
one thing.
and don't be afraid to leave. You're not a quitter. There's a guy I talk to frequently online. He's in France. He joined a company about 4 or 5 months ago with, and during the interview, it sounded like it was the kind of place where he wanted to work because they talked about continuous delivery and all this stuff. Go in and find out it's a complete dumpster fire with a CTO who just pushes broken crap to the pipeline to main without any sort of responsibility whatsoever, expects people to fix it, does giant gifts, is completely resistant to any sort of improvement around how do we improve our quality process, just doesn't care at all. And I'm telling him, quit. You
Did
go
it?
find
Does
a
he?
job. You just quit. You're done. You're all you're going to do is be frustrated every single day that this guy sucks and there's nothing you can do about it.
But has he done that yet?
Oh, he's looking.
So, Brian, I know we wanted to keep this short and sweet. We wanted to give people a sound bite there's so much coming at us from so many different directions. I wanted to make sure that we recorded and keep things moving forward because it's a new year. Not that we're making any kind of New Year's resolution, but we are refocusing on things that are important to us. And this has always been important for years.
There's
You
one
and
thing.
me together.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
one really important nugget I want to push out to people who don't know where to start. It's as far as helping others.
Mhm.
Okay, you will become a better engineer if you teach other people what you know.
Mhm.
Because you really have to think about what you know to be able to teach it. You'll learn new stuff faster if you're trying to teach other people what you know. So the best thing for your career as an engineer is to mentor other engineers.
And it doesn't matter what level you're at. It should be all of us looking for opportunities first to mentor, to educate, and then to sponsor wherever we can
I've
to
I've
sponsor.
seen people with less than a year out of college mentoring other engineers and really helping accelerate their careers because you have to know some teach it.
Yep. 100%, my friend. 100%. So I don't think we'll have any links in below, but people can subscribe. They can ping us with other topics, or if they want to come on and spar with us or just tell stories, just reach out to Brian or myself and we'll make it happen. So I
Yep.
guess that's it. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Brian.
Later.